Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cheerleaders, welcome to an episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my true partner, Anthony. This is a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how you doing? Oh, and maybe should I say happy Valentine's Day?
Yes. For those who don't know, I didn't know it was Valentine's Day. So what happened was we showed up to class on when was Valentine's Day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
No, Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday, and then I taught the beginners class, and it was small. There was only like 4 people, and then afterwards with the advanced class, and Philippe was like, "Oh, we only have like 2 people here." So there was 2 or 3 people, and we just
there was 4. He sent me a thing of like, "Here, Juan, here's the attendance." Those 4 people.
Yeah, there was only like 4 people, and then we ended early, and he was like, Philippe was like, "Oh, I expected it to be small class today, but not this small." And I'm like, why do you expect to be small class? And he's like, "Cause it's Valentine's Day." I was like, "Oh shit." Like,
I should go get the wife some flowers.
And I was like, okay, I guess, why are we ending class early? I don't want to go home.
I don't want to go home.
Yes, but it's like, I think out of the 4 people there, 3 of us are married. So
trying to get away.
Yeah, we're just like, I guess we're the ones that forgot or trying to stay away from home. So,
well, it's funny because I was on set all day and they told us we would probably finish set around like, I think it was 6 days. Then I was like, okay, there'll be enough time. I just go straight to the dojo, hang out and stuff. But we didn't finish set till like almost 8 o'clock. And I get one of our members, I don't want to name him because I don't call him out and stuff, messages me all day. "Hey, are you going to go to class today?" Like, "Yeah, I plan on going to class." "Hey, okay, what time's class today?" Like, you know what time class is. And I told him it was early because I knew he was going to be late. So I said, "That's at 7 o'clock."
I know who you're talking about because he showed up 15 minutes.
Yeah. So he showed up 15 minutes before class ends, which is 8 something. And I'm just thinking, I told you 7 o'clock. And how do you not know what time class is? It hasn't changed in a year.
For like 5, 6, 7 years.
Well, it's very similar. We had changed a little bit, and we are going to change schedule this upcoming Monday again.
As of today. As of tomorrow. Yeah. As of
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I plan to get some call from a parent or email from a parent tomorrow being like,
Philippe already got class an email today? Philippe already got an email. Yeah.
Is there class tomorrow? Are you guys open? What's going on? I was like, I've been sending
out emails too. Like, I don't understand. Like, I've sent out multiple emails. By the way, as of this date, like, by the way, again,
straight to spam, brother. Straight to spam. That's what we're going to. They don't like us.
Same thing with Scotty. Like, he was like, "I didn't get an email. I didn't get an email." I'm like, "I sent it to you. I definitely did." And then he was like,
I know I sent it to you. So that was just funny.
Valentine's Day. That I was like, after Philippe said that, I'm like, "Oh, so that's why Target was selling chocolate." Because I thought it was for Easter. I thought it was Easter or something. I'm like, why is everyone buying Easter chocolate right now? But now that I think about it, I guess Easter is chocolate, Valentine's Day is chocolate, and Halloween is chocolate too. So
every holiday is chocolate, except for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah,
that's beer.
You guys better enjoy it because there's going to be a chocolate shortage as we get older. Chocolate and coffee, both 2 things that probably going to either be not enough of or just be really expensive. So
such a Debbie Downer, such a negative Nancy. It was funny because it was also Ash Wednesday and Valentine's Day in the same day, and I'm there.
What's Ash Wednesday?
You don't know? Oh, okay. This is a Roman Catholic thing. So we have this thing called Lent, where I really don't want to get into
stuff in your pocket.
I don't want to get it. You ever see people with like smudges on their head once a year? It's supposed to look like a cross.
Only in India.
Well, they do it in America too. It's called Ash Wednesday, is your ashes. And it's supposed to be when Jesus went to the desert, had a talk with the devil, decided, "I'm going to die for our sins, blah, blah, blah." And at the end, he gets crucified. And that's Easter.
Okay.
All right. That's some Cliff Notes version for you. I don't want to get into
it. I always get lost because every religion has their own little version of it. So.
Oh, yeah.
And every sect. Like, anyway. So
in some good news, if you guys are watching video right now, you might be able to see I'm not wearing my sling today. I've been out to sling for 2 weeks, doing a lot of rehab. I can somewhat move my shoulder up and down a little bit. Hopefully by the end of the month, I'll be teaching my class again because Philippe was funny. When my sling was on, Philippe was, I don't want you on the mat. Don't go on the mat. Don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. Yeah. The day I get my sling off, so when are you going to start teaching your class again? I don't want to teach it forever. This is only supposed to be a temporary thing, Juan. I'm just like, we're on Saturday. You're like, Juan, don't get on the mat. Now Monday, Juan, when you get back on the mat.
I mean, I don't mind teaching it if he doesn't want to, but I thought he was enjoying it, but I guess he got bored. I'm not sure.
He is enjoying it. I think he is. He's just, I think he just likes the relax of coming on Saturdays and just watching us teach and critiquing us instead of having to go out there and teach.
Okay. Well, I thought my rib was fine until that day when Javier did a turn throw and drove his shoulder or butt into my rib, and I was and then on Wednesday Miguel did it again, and I was like so I guess like I feel fine until someone like presses down on it, so I think I'm just gonna wait a little bit more.
Okay.
But, yeah. So
injuries suck. Take time.
Yep.
That sucks. All right. So one thing we would ask people to do is just like always to like, share, and subscribe. If you guys want to send us things, you send it to at tatamitalk@gmail.com or leave us a comment or something for messages. And we sometimes get questions from listeners. And on one of our, I don't know if it was our last video or if it was one of our short videos, one of our listeners asked us about what do we do to calm down or calm our minds after we practice? Because most of us train late at night.
I don't think it's just calming down. It's just people have trouble sleeping. It's a very common issue that I don't have. Actually, now that I think about it, a few times I did have that problem, but it has to do with tournaments, not so much training, I guess. Because I think this is when it's like one of those tournaments where you go travel for, and then you book a hotel, and then you don't fight. You weigh in at like 8 a.m. and you don't fight until like 8 or 10 at night. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So you go to bed right afterwards. Like that's when I have trouble sleeping. But regular training, like regular class, our classes end at what, 9, 8:39.
Yeah.
And I get home at like 10. I eat, so I go to sleep at like 11. I don't have trouble sleeping, and I guess I'm also like a night owl, so I stay up a couple hours later anyway to watch some TV, spend some time with my dog. My wife is already asleep by then. Spend some time with my dog and like read some judo articles or books or something, and then fall asleep that way. Like that's why I don't really have that problem. I think that's a case by case basis, but it's been a question that's been asked on not just the judo subreddit online, but also like a lot of martial arts and BJJ and Muay Thai. Everyone is like, what do you do when you guys go to have trouble going to bed at night? But I think it's uniquely judo and sometimes BJJ, not uniquely, but happens more often because of how late our classes are because we're nonprofit versus you go sign up for kickboxing. Usually it's like a 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 p.m. class, right? But judo, it's like you don't end until like 8 or 9 very commonly. Yeah. So I know some people talk about eating too, which was something I personally had a problem with and had to adjust around. But in terms of, I'm going to give you like that was my own approach to it. But the scientific answer is your body basically, if you narrow it down, pretty much only has 2 drives. Like your whole life basically goes around 2 drives. One is to survive and the other is to reproduce. Right. So, okay. Yeah. So the survival thing triggers something called, everyone's heard of like fight or flight, right? Yes. So it's like, if you basically have your adrenaline running, and when you have your fight or flight instinct triggered, then obviously it's supposed to keep you awake, because if you fall asleep or you're tired, you're going to get killed. So, so I guess the number one thing would be to not go to a late class if you have the option.
But you don't have a choice though. That's
so obviously, that's why I said it first, because it's not an option for many people, right? Number two thing you could do is I actually took notes on this because someone asked me before. I pulled it up just for this episode. Um, is reduce the intensity of training. So if you're the type of person that has trouble sleeping, and then you go into training like with specifically more common with the beginners because beginners trigger that fight or flight. You know how they're like really tight and stiff and everything, and when they go in Rindori, they're like scared of falling, like that kind of stuff. If you're like that, then yeah, you're probably going to come out of practice like you just went through a fight, basically. So you're probably going to have trouble sleeping. But if you're more experienced, you're just like, oh, I'm here doing uchikomis, and then you're just like playing or being playful, play judoing in Randori, then you're never really going to fully trigger that fight or flight mode. You're playing, right? So that would help. And I think that's a large part. That has a large part to do with why I think I personally don't have problem with sleeping, because I'm pretty loose and relaxed, and I'm not always like trying to kill people, like especially in night class. And I take a lot of falls. But then back to what I said about the tournament, why I have trouble sleeping during the tournament is because I literally went into fight or flight mode doing a tournament. So I have trouble sleeping afterwards. So yeah. So basically reduce the intensity of training. And then maybe like, as you get better at controlling how stiff you are and how riled up you are, then you can like increase the intensity of training a little bit. The second thing is I mean, people have heard this like many times, right? But I'm going to, it comes down to basically don't look at a screen while you're in bed.
Right? That one.
Yeah.
Or set your screen to night mode or something where it gives you an orange light instead of the white or blue light.
It's not just the light. It sounds like very woo woo, but there's a lot of science backing it, right? You basically associate the screen with stimulation. So like you're watching videos, TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, whatever, and it's like giving you all of this stimulation, and it's like, how do you say it? It's kind of like a addiction kind of thing. So every time you're like, oh, what's going to come next? Like if you're scrolling through videos, you're like looking for that, I don't want to say high, but that serotonin, dopamine rush of like seeing something interesting. So it's like constantly expecting that. So you kind of associate the phone with that. So if you have your phone in front of you and a screen on, then your brain just kind of associates that with like a stimulated state instead of like sleeping. So I would just personally not do that.
So don't watch fight videos right before you go to bed.
Yeah, basically, but don't do anything that just don't look at your phone like and during bedtime, or TV or whatever. And for a while, I'll give you the opposite side of this, right? So that's what the science says, and there's a lot of evidence. But when I was in college for a while, I love leaving a TV stream, like just like South Park or a cooking show or whatever, just like background noise on my TV while I go to bed. So I'm not really paying attention. It's just like background noise, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of got conditioned to it where I couldn't sleep without that playing in the back. And then when I started dating my wife, like she was like, can you turn it off? And then like, I'm like, okay, fine. Cause she couldn't sleep, but turn it off and I just can't sleep because there's like no sound. So I had to wean myself off of that for her. But so it kind of shows how you associate certain things with like sleeping. So but I only use that as an example because, like I said, the cooking shows or whatever, they're kind of boring to me. I've watched, and especially the cartoons like South Park, I've watched all of them, right? So I already know what's going to happen. It's not stimulating. It's just like noise in the back. So it's going to put me to sleep. But if you're watching something super stimulating, then obviously you're going to be wide awake. So yeah, have a ritual before you go to bed, like whether it's like drinking some water or like reading a book for 5 minutes or be on your phone for 5 minutes before bed, reading something. Just like get into a relaxed mode to go into bed. That's basically it. And try to go to bed at the same time all the time. It's like a routine, right? that's the next thing. Also taking a warm shower after right before bed, like after class, before bed, that helps because it relaxes you, and it also cools you off. Like one reason, like people, you probably heard about it a lot of times. People wake up from sleeping because of being too hot or too cold or whatever. So having like a right temperature, setting your house or whatever to the right temperature is good. That basically comes down to that. I mean, there's also I don't want to recommend, like some people say just take melatonin, right?
Yes.
I don't recommend that. There are side effects of all things. So before you go that route, I would just talk to your doctor before you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd highly recommend you do that instead of just self-medicating, because I mean it might work, it might not work. But you don't want to risk it. Also, you want to rule out any like hormone issue or thyroid issue. My family actually has a history of thyroid cancer. Like two of my aunts both had their thyroids removed, and another one's on medication. So that definitely affects your sleep. So make sure you don't just self-medicate and then find out you have these problems like later on. Just go to the doctor, rule out everything else, and then get recommendations from them. Another thing is staying hydrated. That's a lot of people don't hydrate enough. Just in general, most people think they drink enough water, but they don't. You need a right amount of electrolytes and water hydrated to sleep, because you got to remember, sleep is when your body actually burns most of the calories to repair. So it uses a lot of water. That's why you wake up very thirsty. A lot of people wake up thirsty, and why they recommend when you wake up to drink some water, because you just like used up a lot of water repairing your body. So make sure you drink a lot of water. But yeah, that's basically stuff I have, is just like rule out any health issues, reduce intensity, have a routine, stay away from screens, and stay hydrated. They're not really, it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but it actually helps. And a lot of people also expect it to work overnight, but no, you have to like condition your body to do that, right? It takes time.
Yeah.
So,
well, those are all great suggestions, Anthony, but what do you do to calm yourself down so you can sleep at night after practice?
I just watch videos. Like, honestly, sometimes I'm just, when I first saw this question ever, like someone asked me this question the first time, I was like, how do you not fall asleep? Like, I'm so freaking tired after training. I just want to pass out. Like,
so I've known about this since I was in about, I want to say middle school, maybe high school. I heard about this thing about how people, when they work out late at night or work out towards nighttime, they can't sleep. And the reason I heard about this was, I'm a huge Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you see any of my kicking videos, you see style the way I kick, that's where I got it from. Okay. Huge Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. And he talked about, he has some other things going on too, but his thing that he would say is that like, would be that I work all day on set. We do 12-hour days on set. I have to have a certain body type. I have to work out. The only time I have to work out is at night. So he ends up being a very insomniac, and he got addicted to other stuff, but he used to blame it all on sleeping pills and stuff like, oh yeah, whatever, yeah. Jean-Claude, you took an upper and then took a downer to sleep.
We've all heard of like the sleeping pill problem that lost release go into, and they get prescribed it. So it's not like it's illegal, but at the same time, it's like, it's probably not good for you.
Yeah, but I knew he was taking some other stuff too. And I was like, whatever, Jean-Claude, like you're my hero still. But it was like, I heard about this. And like, how do you not get tired from work? Because if I have a good workout, I'm tired when I get home. Like I'll be laying in my bed or on my chair in my tablet or something. And I'll be like, falling asleep, my phone will hit me in the face. Like, boom, oh my God, hit me in the eye today.
The human body is a funny thing, right? Because this is one other thing I forgot to mention, but stress is something that messes up your sleep. Like when I just came back from India, I was super stressed out because I had so many things to do. I just told you about it. And then there was like the injury, and then the time zone change. And I even though I was no longer jet lagged, I couldn't sleep. I was waking up at like 2 a.m. Every night for like, so I basically had 2 hours of sleep every night until like last week, I guess. And I just wake up feeling exhausted, and then it's a cycle because I wake up feeling exhausted. I don't get any work done. And then I have to commute to judo, teach judo, come back. I'm tired, 2 hours of sleep. it's like a cycle. I don't get any work done.
Well, it's kind of funny because I kind of think like you and me are kind of like the worst two people to ask this question to, because you and me are night owls. Like we'll email or send each other stuff like at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. Sometimes we'll be talking. I say like, hey, see this video? And it's like, yeah, I'm up right now. I just saw that video just 10 minutes ago. Or
so if stress is part of the reason why you can't sleep too, then you probably want to address that first. And I would actually go out there and say, if going to train judo is keeping you up at night, making you wake up tired, and then causing issues during the daytime at work or your personal life, making you more stressed, and then you go to judo, it's like it's an endless cycle like I'm talking about. I would just stop going to judo temporarily and then fix the stressful part. Like, for example, for a while I was like, I gotta go home. I can't stay. I gotta finish work, right? After I teach classes, I go home. Yeah. Because I'm trying to fix that cycle. I want to get the work done. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to be stressed now. Now I can go to bed, catch up on sleep, and then go back to training. So that's something that I think people have to also look out for, and not just blame it on judo. Like, oh, judo's so late, I can't sleep, when maybe it was stress related. So
there's
definitely rule that out first.
Anthony gave a lot of good suggestions. There's things that like I do some of the stuff. Like if I can't sleep at night, I have these these two martial art encyclopedias. One's like really old martial art encyclopedia. The other one's like more recent encyclopedia of martial arts. And I'll just be like, okay, let's check a country. Let's check this country's martial arts. And I'll just read up on the martial art and be like, oh, okay, my mind's calmed down now. Now I'm gonna try to sleep again. Or people would like, there's teas you can drink that will try to calm your body down, get you to sleep and stuff. Because I don't recommend sleeping pills either. I know people telling me like, oh, just take a sleeping pill or take melatonin. It's like, I'm not a big fan on that. And I have a really weird work schedule anyway. So like this upcoming Tuesday, my call time, because Monday's President's Day in America, we celebrate our presidents. So on Tuesday, I have work. Guess what time my call time is on Monday? My call time is 6 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah, my call time is 6 a.m. And that's just how my job works. I have really early call times on Monday, but by the time I get to Friday, I'm doing all night calls, and I'm used to that, like Thursday night, Friday night. The shows that I work, and I work cop shows, fires and police lights look great at night. So that's why we're shooting till 4, 6, 7 in the morning sometimes for these things. So like I have to plan for Monday. Okay, well, Monday, I'm going to do this. I might try to sleep, might get up early that day. That's when I'm tired by the time nighttime comes, or I'll try to get up early. I'm gonna do a big workout at judo that night. So as soon as I get home around 11 or maybe 10 or something, try to go to bed immediately. Cause I got to get up at least 4:30. Yeah, I can slip by 5, depending on where the location is, to get to work, and that right there is only going to give me 5 hours if I'm lucky of sleep.
Yep.
So you gotta figure out things what you gotta do to calm yourself. And that's my thing. You gotta calm yourself down. Cause like the stress or the insomnia is like, cause your body's pushing out too much adrenaline or something. Cause you worked out too much, or that's how most dojos work anyways. You can do easy stuff in the beginning of class and you do rondori at the end of class. So you're doing rondori, you got your adrenaline pumping, your body's pumping, you're all hot, sweaty, ready to go. And I was like, all right, now go home and sleep in an hour. It's tough. Yeah. So you got to figure out what to do to calm your mind down.
Now that you mention it, like, I picked this up from when I trained in Japan. Was the Kodokan has a hot bath, like a hot, like the hot bath. Then Japanese, like they have a hot bath at the Kodokan's locker room, and I did that right after training. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I started going to public baths in Japan after I trained, and that really helped me relax. And I kind of started doing that at home. Like when I come home from judo, I just take a bath and a hot bath, and sometimes I fall asleep in the tub actually. So
oh no, I'm dying.
No, what happens is I drop my phone and
Oh, how water resistant your phone?
It's waterproof. It's waterproof. It's actually waterproof.
And the old school thing, you put your phone in a plastic bag, zip lock.
So that's something I do. But like you said, stress related, and man, I forgot what I was going to say. There was something else. You have to definitely. These are two things that I don't do, right? But I tried it, and it definitely works really well. Is cutting out caffeine and alcohol. Those are two things that will really improve your sleep, because sleep is one of those things where you need good quality of, no, not quantity. Because I would sometimes, like, after practice, drink a few beers, come home, drink like another few beers, and then this usually on a Friday, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I would like go to bed and early, but then I would wake up feeling like exhausted, right? It's because I didn't have a great sleep. Versus there was a time when I just stopped drinking alcohol and caffeine. Usually when I'm traveling, actually, because either I don't like the coffee in the local place, like for example, I don't really drink coffee when I'm in Japan because I don't like Japanese coffee that much. They have a different flavor profile there, but or another example, I was in India. When I was in India, I had the best sleep of my life because there was a dry wedding and the alcohol was so expensive, like I mentioned.
No, you called me, be like, Juan, it's a dry wedding. What am I gonna do? Get a flask, brother? I don't know.
Yeah, so I didn't drink that much there, and the sleep quality increased, even though I didn't sleep as long, right? And there was a time when I was training Muay Thai, I stopped drinking and stuff, and I was only sleeping 6 hours a day, and I felt fine because the quality of the sleep was better. Versus you drink coffee and stuff, it messes with your sleep cycle, the coffee and the caffeine mostly, and the alcohol makes your quality of sleep worse. Plus, it dehydrates you, like I said right earlier with dehydration. So I would sleep like 12 hours and wake up and still feel like I didn't get enough sleep. So yeah, when I was in college, I did all the sleep hacking stuff that you could try, and I don't recommend that because it was doable in college, but now that I have like I don't strictly have a 9 to 5 job, but when you have adult responsibilities, your schedule's not as flexible, so you can't really do a lot of these sleep hacking stuff. So,
dude, in college, I would stay out till 2, 3 in the morning, close the club up, and I'll be at the hotel at 7 a.m. All right. So don't talk to me about when I was younger. You just, man, I used to be crazy when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I'm like, how did I do that?
Yeah. So I don't want to. Do you have anything else? Because we can just summarize. Basically,
That's it.
Right yeah. Have a bedtime schedule. If you can, stop drinking caffeine and alcohol. Stay away from the screen. Relax. Reduce intensity of training and hydrate. Basically.
All right.
So those are the things. Yep. So, and talk to your doctor. So.
Yeah. All right. So our main topic for today, I don't know if it's the main topic, but it's a very interesting topic at least. So our buddy Jonah at 510 Judo in the Bay Area sent us a thing about a couple of weeks ago about how USJF is offering an online Nage-no-kata course. Now, why Nage-no-kata? Well, because for most dojos and for most places, you must complete Nage-no-kata, the first kata in judo, to get your black belt. Some dojos make you start doing it when you get towards your brown belt, so that by the time you get your black belt, you've completed all of it and you can do all of it. But most dojos, like, okay, you're getting ready to get your black belt. Here's a few months or a year, whatever it take you to learn Nage-no-kata, so you can either A, perform it in front of your instructor. They say it's good. They sign off on your paperwork. You can apply for that. Or what I prefer, go to a tournament or clinic, get your certificate saying you completed it and it's all good. That way you never have to do it again and mail that in with your kata certificate.
So does the certificate specify whether you did the tori or the uke part?
It just says that you got certification in it. It doesn't say if it's tori or uke.
Okay. So I've always thought it was weird how many places, dojos, and many grading requirements for Shodan only makes you do tori. It doesn't make you do uke. And I think uke is the harder part, honestly, because I did both, right? And I thought uke was like much harder. But many places don't make you do the uke. So
yeah, I did both parts when I got my black belt for my certification.
Do you agree?
Oh yeah, well,
uke is harder.
Yeah. And then I did the uke part from one of my friends when he got his black belt. So, and I was like one of the last. I was like, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not getting thrown around.
It's not even the falls. It's just the fact that you have to sell it and you can't make it too obvious. You know, like, and then the uke you can mess up a little bit, but if your uke and your tori you can mess up a little bit, but if your uke is good, then they'll make you still hide the mistakes a little bit, it feels like. So
they'll sell it to make you look good, you know?
Yeah. And I feel this is a personal opinion, right? I feel like the uke part makes you understand the mechanics of the throw better. because you know how you're making the other person fall, right? So, but the tori, I don't feel like you would necessarily have to understand the mechanics. You just have to do the action. Does that make sense? Like if you do, for example, you do stay on nage, right?
Yeah.
You just turn. You can just literally just turn and do the action, and then the uke can jump, and you wouldn't even feel what the hell is happening. Does that make sense?
Yes, but that's if you have a very low bar test. That's the ones like when I did my test, they're very strict. I mean, I'm just gonna bring it back to like how when I did mine, I went to a kata clinic. They were very, very strict on us and how we did stuff. And even if you go to a tournament and do it, it's very strict because we had a guy do it at a tournament. He messed up on something. Luckily, he did it twice with somebody else, and because he did it with somebody else that was better, he got passed. But it's these things where some of these things are hard to do. Like I said, in California, not at least down here, usually used to, and not as much as they used to have like 2 kata clinics a year at least, where you can go in and do Nage-no-kata and Kimi-no-kata pretty much. So they're 2 big ones. Most people they're trying to get a black belt, they got to do Nage-no-kata, trying to get their second dan. It's either a complete Nage-no-kata or you got to learn Kimi-no-kata. And then when you get to the other katas and stuff, like most people aren't going to learn 3rd or 4th dan kata. All right. And fewer people are going to do 5th and 6th dan kata, you know?
Yeah.
So with USJF adding this new online course that you watch these videos, you take a test, and I guess you got to answer these things correctly. Did you take the test? Did you take it like you said you were?
Oh, wait. Was it available?
Wasn't it? Well, that's another thing. Well, that's another thing about this. We tried looking into it and it said, oh, be up running by some date. I went on there again. It wasn't really up yet. Then Anthony went on it.
I couldn't find it, so I didn't take it yet.
Yeah. So that was another thing about it. They announced this. They have it on their website. That was up, but you can't take the course yet. So what are they waiting for? What's going on here? But even though what do you think about taking an online course for Nage-no-kata, where you watch videos, most likely read text, get what these things mean, and take a little test for each section, each segment and stuff.
Short answer
to going to a clinic or learning it yourself and doing it.
Sure. My short answer is it's not going to work. At least I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good idea. It might work for the goal that they're trying to do, right?
As I was saying, is that a lot of places don't give these kata clinics. Last time we talked about kata and how to learn and what our thoughts on it is, we had a viewer ask us that I can't remember if they lived in New York or Florida. I think it was New York. They lived in the New York area. They couldn't find a kata class. They wanted to get their shodan, and it's like, for my shodan, I need to complete the kata, but they couldn't find a class, a clinic, or anything to teach them.
Okay, so. Think about this, okay? Have you taught people how to do Nage-no-kata, right? I've taught a couple people, not the whole set, right? Just like they're like, oh, I'm having trouble with this part, and I teach them that part. Have you tried teaching them without demonstrating it or being or touching them?
A little bit when my shoulder was hurt. I was trying to help
So
out
for me, it was my knee, right?
Yeah.
So how would you say? How well did they pick it up?
Not great.
Yeah,
because you have to, because it's when you're there, because they can watch the video. Because everybody goes to that night. Everyone goes to that NHK Kodokan video and they watch that video because that's I think that's one of the best ones out there. And it's actually a very detailed video to watch also.
So that's how we learned it, right? And we have someone to practice with, and Dave Roman. That's how he did it too. So I think what Dave Roman did is a good middle ground, which is he learned himself, right? Got a partner, watched the Kodokan video, practiced it, recorded himself, and then he mailed the video file to Steve Scott, and then he was like, okay, great, here's your Nidan, Shodan, whatever, right? So I think that's doable, but it'll be hard. Because the Kodokan video is great. If anyone's thinking about doing I can speak for the Nage-no-kata and the not Kimi-no-kata, Katame-no-kata, because those are two that I studied, but I didn't look at the other ones yet. Oh, I looked at the Judo-kata too, actually. But I think that would be good for you to self-learn. Where the problem comes in is not everyone has an eye for detail.
Yeah.
Like to see certain things.
Well, even when you performed Tatami no, like one day you decided to try it. So I was like, okay, I've done Tatami no kata before. I know how it goes for my second dan. So you did it with me. I was like, okay, well, I'll do the Tori part. No, I did the Uke part.
You did
I was
the
on the
Uke part.
ground. Yeah,
we swap back and forth. Yeah.
But there's certain things where it's like you were putting my arm not all the way, like get the arm out. Yeah. It's like, get the arm out. Okay. Now go to grab me. Oh, okay. Now I'll go to grab you. It's like, wait till I do this, then you do this.
You see, that's not exactly what I'm talking about, because that is like, I forgot. I watched the video and I forgot. So if I recorded myself, then I go back and compare, then I think I'll be fine. But I'm talking about watching the video and not seeing certain details, like, oh, his weight transferred from this leg to this leg. You can kind of see one really, if you've done the Nage-no-kata, the throw I'm thinking about is Sasai Suriko Mayashi. That part, you know how when I was practicing it, I had a lot of trouble doing it because the weight transfer is kind of weird, how you step to the side while you're like stepping on the so those who did it know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So I had a little bit of trouble with that, but I was able to see the video and notice like, no, that's not how it is, because I'm not doing it right, because the weight transfer is not correct. So I had trouble with it, but I was at least able to look at the video and see that I was doing it wrong. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does.
Versus, I'm not saying like, oh, I forgot or I didn't notice the video didn't have the arm extender, something like that. Not that, because if that's being missed, then I think that is the fault of the instruction. Does that make sense?
But that's the thing, if you doing the kata though, you're doing it with somebody. And you're making a video and sending it to them. Where with the USJF, it's you probably watch videos and then they discuss it or they talk about certain points.
So let me finish my thought, right? So the problem with the USJF, so I want to tell you how I think this would work well, right? So one, the instruction has to be good, because you'd have to make sure have all the stuff we talked about, like make sure your hands here, make sure the weight transfer is here, because some things you can't see, like the weight transfer, like I said, but then the details you can totally add it to the videos, right? And then how this would actually work if I were to do it is you would have to have regular check-ins, right? So I would mail in the video once a week or once every 2 weeks of me doing it. And they'll be like, okay, in this part, you didn't do this right. In this part, you didn't do this right. So it's like a regular check-in, like a review. And then 2 weeks later send it again. And it's like, okay, this looks better, but you still like here, it's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think that would work better than to be like asking questions. Like, I don't know what the questions will be like. It could be something totally useless. Like, what is the third set what is the third throw in the third set of the Nage-no-kata? Like, that is useless information, right?
That is exactly going to be the question, I bet.
Yeah, that's useless information versus asking like, should your knees be bent in the Ponce Nage, right? That is like an example of useful information, and where should your weight be in the kake portion of the Tomoe Nage, like. That stuff like that, I think would be good as a question, but ultimately all that would just be complement what I mentioned before, which is having a regular review of people doing the throws. That way, you don't have to have a clinic and an in-person thing. But again, if you don't have the in-person ability to throw the other person or to show them or make them feel how the throw is supposed to work, then the video itself needs to be at the very least as good as the Kodokan video and more. Basically, it has to be at least at that quality. That's my thought. But if you're just going to ask them, show them, make them show a video, ask them questions, and then like pass them, give them a certificate based off of that, then I don't think that's going to be good enough.
Well, the whole thing about the Nage-no-kata anyways is that it's all standing. Okay, it's all tachiwaza, no newaza. And the whole goal, and people like ask me when I first teach them this, or they ask why I learn Nage-no-kata, is because the whole goal is that these are the 15 throws that if you know them left and right, you know the basis of judo. That if you know these 15 throws, those are supposed to be the base of all judo throws, and you can go off from anywhere there. Okay, so that means that when you perform it that you understand the
mechanics.
The mechanics of, you understand the mechanics of how to throw, how to hold somebody, how to roll, how to fall in judo. Where if you take this online course, like I personally think it's a very good idea, but I think it's too big. It's too big of an idea. They're trying to do too much that they haven't done before. And I applaud them for trying.
Yeah. I'll just be blunt, right?
Yeah.
I'll just be very blunt here. Hopefully they don't listen to it. I'm looking at the AJDM. It was a good idea. We need something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Failure.
Yeah.
USJF Nationals. We need something like that. Failure.
Hey. You're talking to a USJF national champion right here. So the first ever Masters 90 kilos.
I'm saying it can be done, but I don't think it's a good idea. And a lot of these people that are writing it, I'm just gonna assume they're all like master kata instructors, and they're probably really good at teaching people kata in person. Like, but they probably had no experience learning it without an instructor. Because I feel like people like Dave Roman, and I guess to a certain extent me, would have some more experience with the troubles that we had and what is missing from the Kodokan video. Then we can be like, hey, like the Kodokan video is great, but when I was learning this myself, like I wish we had this and that and this, and no one made it easier.
I feel insulted because I taught you a lot of that Nage-no-kata, and I'm hurt right now. I am personally hurt.
Well, that's why I said to a certain extent, right? Because you weren't always there when I did it, but then for my example, it would be like the questions that I asked you should be available in the course, basically. So I think that would be a better approach, but I don't think it's going to be like that. Which leads to the other thing I'm going to be blunt about, right? When I learned it when I asked certain people that are really quote unquote good at kata, some questions, they'll be like, "Oh, your hand shouldn't do this. It should be doing this instead." And then I'll be like, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, because you get 2 points removed. You get points deducted." And I was just like, "Okay, but why is it? Why? Other than points, like why is it bad?" So,
dogma of judo. That's why. So it's always my go-to. The dogma of martial arts. The dogma of judo.
So I feel like back to what I said. Like the point of kata, if you're not competing, is to understand the mechanics of the throws, and sometimes like not like the hand not being like exactly at one spot, for example, might not make a huge. It's like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. And I think it's more important to teach and transfer the knowledge of the mechanics and get people to feel what the throw feels like. I think that's much more important. I'll use Uki Otoshi as an example, right? Uki Otoshi really helped me understand the Otoshi mechanic for Taitoshi, to improve my Taitoshi. Like my Taitoshi really worked well because I understood like the weight, using your weight, dropping and sinking to drag the uke off. And then when I did that correctly, I also felt uke flying away and dragging me off balance. But you have to maintain your balance and structure and at the end of the throw. And that also like these are all stuff you'd be learning through the kata. But then if I ask them, why do I have to drag him back in? Why do I have to do this? Why do I do that? And you're like, oh, just because you get points deducted. Like that doesn't really help transfer the knowledge other than this is why you have to do it, just because you get points deducted. So I feel like that's another trap that they probably have to be careful about. Yeah. I'm not claiming to be like really good at kata, but I feel like I do see a lot of the details. So I constantly see my own mistakes in kata. And when I look at myself do kata, I'm able to do that. So part of the mistakes have to do with my knee. Like it's really hard doing a lot of the weight transfers, like especially kataguruma, you know, the step in, like that's really freaking hard for me.
Yeah.
A lot of the kneeling stuff is hard. Like even the Tatami no kata, the sliding along the floor is so freaking hard on my knee.
Yeah,
like,
I can imagine.
Yeah. So, but I can see the mistakes, right? So that's what I think about the kata thing. It could be done well. I just feel like they don't have a good history of executing things well. So, not holding my breath, basically.
Yeah.
So,
And like I said, we got this question like maybe about a month ago now. We got this question and it's still not up. It's still not working. So it's just like the HJDM thing. It's just what's going to happen.
HJDM, yeah.
HJ, whatever. DM me in my.
It's a good idea. It's just, it's for those who work in the startup space. I did a bit of work in the startup space before, right? And you're always going to hear people say like, "Oh, I need you to sign a non-disclosure agreement before I'll tell you my idea." Like, I want your feedback on that idea, but I don't want you stealing it and going off and doing it yourself. It's like, okay, 99% chance your idea is not unique. There's probably 100 people that have tried it before or are about to do the same thing. It's always about the execution. The execution and how you execute it is what's going to determine whether you succeed or not. Like, think about how Instagram Shorts and TikTok has taken off.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember something called Vines?
Yeah, that's why I can't believe it's. I'm like, I was a big Vine guy. I thought Vine was stupid when it first came out. I thought it was really dumb. But it's funny, people will still love Vine and stuff. Like how that was a short video format that died.
It was great. I thought it was awesome thing.
Okay, look at the Super Bowl just happened a little while ago. They had a Snapchat commercial, at the Super Bowl. Who really uses Snapchat nowadays except to get your side chick or something, or just use it for filters? I don't see nobody upload Snapchat videos anymore, but I'll see their videos or their filters on like Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, or they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was on Snapchat. Why aren't they posted on Snapchat?" No, they just want to make the video there, but then post it somewhere else.
Yeah, so the idea is not what's important; it's the execution. It's basically what I'm saying, and. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea for places that small areas where there's not a whole lot of judo. They don't do kata clinics. There's no kata clinics near you and stuff. And you don't have your danshikan where you can mail it to or something. I think this is a great idea, but it's just something that's very daunting and big and huge. And I hope they can do it. But yeah, you are going to miss out on a lot of stuff not doing it with somebody. Just it being an online course, you just answer questions. It's interesting. I applaud them for it, but I just want to see how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
Which brings me to our other thing where our dojo, how I was talking about how Naka used to have these kata clinics like twice a year or something. Our dojo, to help out with this stuff, are going to start having kata classes. So what do you think about us having kata classes twice a month?
I love it because I need to do my Tatami no kata. But no, I love it. Glad Pamela's teaching it. It was hard to make it happen. Let's just put it that way to keep it short. Like, for those who don't know, they're running a dojo. It's like kind of complicated, but
that's gonna be our next episode. Next episode is 100, and we're gonna talk about
we'll talk about it.
How Hollywood grew from back when I first started going there twice a week, when it was only open twice a week, to how we are now open 6 days a week now.
Yeah. So yes, I'll talk about it at the end of the episode about that, but yeah, it's the kata class is great. Not a lot of classes offer it. And also, I think in LA, Gardena used to offer it. I don't know if they still do. But it's not really well advertised. Like I had to like ask people.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a very common thing.
Well, it's a weird thing because Pamela would always invite me to like, oh, we're going to have kata class here at this place. Or Naka was having a kata class or kata seminar, whatever you want to call it, once a month or twice a month at certain dojos. And Pam would always invite me like, oh, Juan, well, when I was having to do my Tatami no kata, she was inviting me over to learn it. And I was like, okay, but you never know. Like Naka never advertised it. They never put on their Facebook. They never put on, I don't think Instagram was around back then, or at least wasn't that popular. And then they didn't put on the calendar. So it's like, how are you supposed to know when these kata classes are happening? You don't have the kata clinics anymore, or not that often anymore. Like it used to be twice a year. Like I keep bringing that up because I want to come back for people need it. But at least our dojo, and since Philippe said, you want to know what? Let's try to help out the community. Let's try to build a judo community and open our doors up by having a kata class. If we can't have it every week, at least twice a month, you know?
Yeah.
And we're going to work, like the first class we're advertising is for Tatami-no-kata. And I've had some emails, people be like, oh, are you guys going to do Nage-no-kata? And I talked to Pamela and she told me that I wasn't planning on it, but if people come and have partners, I want to learn it, I can divide the class up in half. because like I said before, the two katas most people want to learn and need to, or want to learn, I'd say, is Nage-no-kata for their Shodan and Tatami-no-kata for their Nidan. A lot of people, not everyone gets the third Dan, all right? And very few people get the fourth Dan, okay? So those are two that are most popular, and those are ones that you'll be teaching. It's a great opportunity to come, learn, and train at a great place. That just happened to be our dojo.
Yeah, before we get into that, I want to jump back a little bit, right? So
all right.
I think it's kind of related. I think what they should build out before they build out this online thing, it would build upon their existing structure of having clinics, is to just have a form of people like being interested in kata clinics in a region. Like, for example, let's say you live in like Wyoming or something, right? And there's no kata clinic nearby. Maybe like start having the Udanshikai there sending out an email out for signups of interest. Like if you get like 100 people interested or even 50 people interested, we talked about this with Jonah or Dave or something. You have like 50, 20, 30 people interested, whatever. Then you charge them each $100, right? Then you can like fly the kata person out to run a clinic that way, and lodging and everything. I think that if you have a system that can basically gather and collect all these interests, kind of like a petition, and be able to do that, then that's much easier than doing an online certification class, I think. So, yeah, I think everything going online is great, but sometimes you have to consider what's realistic and what's more the lower hanging fruit. But back to what you said, yeah, we're actually, I'm glad we're running it, but I'm worried about the longevity of it. That's the concern I have, is because I'm not in the kata community. I feel like every tournament I go to and look at the kata competition, there's the same few, like 10 people that show up, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm hoping this would grow that community that I see, and I'll see more people at the kata tournament. But at the same time, I'm like, how many people are just going to get their certification and stop showing up? Right. So twice a week, I think twice a week is good.
Twice a month.
Twice a month is good. But it's like, how long will that last? And I'm curious to see whether there's other intricacies to it. Like maybe Pamela will add some competition aspects to it, where it's like, hey, like this is a route you can take. So if you're interested and don't want to compete in regular, come to class more often, and we can go over the smaller details of all of the kata and stuff. And maybe like have like discussions of the mechanics and philosophy behind, especially once you get to the higher end kata. I don't know if she knows how to do it, but the Itsusuna kata, or like the Kime-no-kata, like the self-defense forms, like if you go into like the history behind it, there's plenty of like geeks that would be like interested in, why are we doing these movements? Why are we striking people on the head like that?
Yeah.
Like if you go into that stuff and not stick to strictly the movements, mechanics, and competition aspects of it, I think the class would have a longevity and would attract a new crowd to judo. And
that brings up a good question.
Yeah.
Now we're thinking of like right now we're thinking of like the first two katas. Once you start getting to 4 or 5, no, you don't need for 4, but to like 5 and 6 and the higher dan katas, am I gonna have to buy some bokens for the dojo and some wooden guns and more tantos? Or do we make people provide their own?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about kata?
No, I think we covered it a lot. We had an episode on kata, so I'm not going to talk about whether kata is useful or not. I think just to summarize what we said about the episode, I think it's useful. I'm not in the camp where people, I feel like most people overstate how useful it is. People who think it's useful overstate how useful it is, and basically go into the Aikido realm of usefulness, basically, of kata. And then at the other end, people who are like, it's a waste of time. Like I just want to, what do you call it? Like, it doesn't help me with my throat. Yeah, it doesn't help me with my throws. Basically, it doesn't help me with anything. I think those people are wrong too. I think it's somewhere in the middle, basically. So I think it's just like anything else that's old. People have just glorified it too much, and the usefulness of it has decreased over time with improved of sports science and technology and stuff. But people are trying to like, how do you call it? Get rid of old stuff just because they're old, but it's not, because there's just still some use to it, basically.
Yeah. And like I said before, when we first started our conversation, most people have to learn the Nage-no-kata to get their black belt. Some dojos, when you get your brown belts, they have you start practicing it. And if you're a competitor, you may or may not have to learn Nage-no-kata.
I had to have, it's a ritual. Just, it's
if you're
ceremony.
If you're a casual or a part-time player and you somehow get all the way to your black belt, you're going to have to learn Nage-no-kata. And everyone, I think, should have to do and learn Nage-no-kata.
Just think about it. It
doesn't have to be beautiful. Yeah. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be amazing or immaculate, but you got to do Nage-no-kata, in my opinion. And if you didn't do Nage-no-kata to get your black belt, then I hope you're a great competitor then, and you're in a national team and winning gold medals. I'm going to get some heat for that, maybe. I'll get some heat.
I think if I had to go to a church for a wedding or funeral, or put a ring on someone to propose to them, like those are all those are all rituals we decided to observe, right? Valentine's Day, right? Those are all rituals we decided as humanity to observe, which culturally for judo, I think the black belt for Shodan would be like Nage-no-kata. So that's how I think you should, like, at least don't disrespect it in that sense, right? So because I think Valentine's Day is dumb, but I still have to go to dinner tonight.
Most holidays are dumb. You think birthdays are dumb, all right?
I think, yeah. So I'm not going to get into that, but basically, just suck it up. All right.
Suck it up and do the kata. Do the kata. All right. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me at the Jerry_Juan on Instagram. You follow Anthony Throws on Instagram. You can follow us at Tatami Talk on Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube at Tatami Talk. You want to send us any questions, things to talk about, things you want to ask about, again, like we did earlier in the episode, use it tatamitalk@gmail.com, or just leave a comment, just leave it. And we might be starting a Patreon soon, so maybe we do some specialty stuff there.
Yep.
Who knows?
We are starting a Patreon. Yeah, and we are starting Patreon.
Starting a Patreon.
I plan to have it started on our third anniversary. Our 100th episode, which the next episode is 100th, and it's our third anniversary. And one of the viewer questions we got, the viewer suggestions we got was because someone on Reddit asked how did we grow our judo program, because I forgot the context of the question, but then I explained what we did, and then someone, I think his name was Judo Matt, was like, you should make it a podcast episode about it. And I was like, yeah, that's great. It'll be a great episode for episode 100, because it's like a reflection episode of our podcast for, again, the year. And so far, it's slightly different from the year's episode, right? Year's episode was a reflection of our year, but third anniversary is like reflection on the podcast. And we're going to talk about how we grew our dojo, from 30 members to, like, I think at the peak it was 150.
No, I can go way back. I've been in this dojo for 16 years. I can go back to when we had like 10 members. Well,
I'm talking about 30 as in before we started all the modernization, adding classes and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go talk about that. And the weird thing is, right after I told you about that, we're doing the AI episode, then we're doing the kata episode, and then we're doing the anniversary on that. Then Shintaro released the "How do you grow your judo?" I'm like, we have a freaking mole.
Someone's listening to. Someone is slipping to our DMs. They are following it. They're listening in.
I think this is like the 5th time it happened, right? So yeah. So
someone's listening to us. Check is there any spyware on our phones? Ah, shit! I put TikTok on my phone. It's Chinese.
Yeah, maybe we
figured it out.
Do some comparisons and touch upon. I think I will do that. I'll have to re-listen to the Shintaro episode, and I don't have to be very careful to not make it sound like I'm bashing him, because I think it was a great episode, by the way. I just have some certain I wouldn't even call it disagreement. It's just different points of views about certain things. So we'll do that and talk about how our approach is different from them. And it kind of shows there's more than one way of doing things, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So with that, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And Anthony, don't forget to... Oh, that hurt.
Don't forget to not raise your shoulder, apparently. All right. And slap the mat. Yep.